Alright guys, welcome back to today's session in our one free class, 1 week free class on Frontend development. And yeah, this is day 5 already, and we've gone through a lot of things. Going to the slide we're actually using, you can see this is day 5 already. We are going to be entering JavaScript, DOM, and interactivity. Now, I would love to take a quick recap of the things we've learned, but I think the time is not on our side at all. So we'll just be going straight into today's work, straight up. So we have the DOM manipulation. When we talk of DOM manipulation, it means that, okay, what is DOM? Document Object Model. It means that everything you see on your screen, like everything you see in your browser, everything that shows up in your code, so those are the DOM. The DOM is like the document, everything in the document part of your code. So it means that probably, I'm trying to look on something to analyze it for you, to understand it better. So probably if you see something like a code, an HTML code, so the whole code that displays everything on the website, like everything you see itself, yes, it's part of the document object model. So probably if you want to change something inside the things you already set up with HTML, so that's why we make use of this DOM manipulation. I'm not really good at explaining this kind of terms to beginners, yes, but at least if you start working on it and you see it in action, you'll be able to understand what I'm trying to say better. So we have many things we make use of in JavaScript to target the things in our DOM. And even from the thing we were working on yesterday, let me go to my JavaScript part. So I was showing you something yesterday about variables, that if you create a variable, you can store a value to the variable. For example, this is a variable named number2, and the value we stored inside the variable is what? Is an integer with a value of 10. So that's just how it works. So now let's say, for example, we want to target something inside our DOM. I'll be creating an HTML file that says dom.html, for example, and I'll be creating a JavaScript file as well that says I can use this place. So we say dom.js. So now in the dom.html, I will just try to, this is the way, so I'll just try to import JavaScript file as well. So first of all, we start with this boilerplate or the basic structure. So this is it over here. So I'm waiting for suggestions to come, but if I'm not seeing suggestions, you can just type sorry. So I was thinking of probably typing everything, but it would actually take a lot of time, and I don't know why this is not coming up. Should I just probably just close? Let me close everything here first, because I think we don't even need them. So I can actually just come over here and just copy everything, Ctrl A, and come over here and Ctrl V. So I'll just need to remove everything we have in the body. So this actually saves our time, instead of having to start writing one by one. Then in the body too, I do the same thing by clearing everything we have except the body and the heading parents themselves. So yeah, I'm removing the style. Okay, so yeah, this is actually what we'll be supposed to be getting if we use that boilerplate. So I will change this to, let's say, DOM manipulation. Oh, sorry. Okay, so DOM manipulation basically is used to alter things. So by even the instance of its name, it means that how to manipulate the DOM. So maybe you have an element in your HTML that you want to change to something else, or you want to even display something. Like manipulate can be in the sense of changing something that already exists, or probably adding something, or even removing something that exists already. So that's what we mean by manipulation. And we don't mean that we want to change something or want to manipulate something inside document object model. So document object model, as I said earlier, it is everything you see on the website. Basically everything that is being displayed to the user. So let's, for example, we have an heading over that says sorry, this is a heading, for example, and we have the closing tag as well, h2. Okay, so now let me just open this in my live server so we can actually see. It's not showing us live server, so let me just right click and open with live server. So it's going to open it up. So now you see this is actually an heading or a heading. Then I have a paragraph as well. I think the poem is actually coming from, my my extension, because it's not even giving suggestions for paragraph at all. So I just go over and do this manually myself. So let's say this is a paragraph, for example. Okay, so you can see how we've created 2 elements now. I'm still waiting for this to open up. So sometimes it do take like a bit of time. So we just need to wait for it to finish doing that. I can just close every other thing we have here, so we can have just the things we're working on, the DOM and the DOM codes. So now these are actually 2 things we've created. So let's say, for example, we want to change this value to something else. You would have seen this in action in many places, but probably you might not even know or notice these things because, for example, if you are trying to looking for a very good example, if you are trying to fill a form, for example, and probably the form is just empty, like you can't even see any error message. So when you're supposed to click on something and fill in your name, for example, and you click on the submit button while leaving the name box empty, so you'll be getting an error message. That error message was not there before, you get. So, but probably because you missed something, you are going to get the error message, which means that something has been added to the body without you having to change the code. You see what I mean by DOM manipulation. So this is actually one of the examples of DOM manipulation, and many other scenarios as well that we're touching today. So now I'm done. I don't know why this is actually still wasting our time. I'm in the live server. Let me open my Chrome and see. Okay, so let me check if it's actually open already. That is 5505. That is the URL of the localhost. So I think it's not open yet. I don't know what is wrong with my yeah, even something is even wrong because look at this stuff. They are always more than this. Let me check my extensions. Is there something wrong with the extensions? This live server, nothing is wrong with live server. It's working fine. But no problem, probably just have to wait for it to just open up. So let me try to open it again. I've done this multiple times, but it's still not coming up. So we just have to wait for it to come up. Yeah, or probably if I increase this and maybe I can see that live server button. So you can see it's even missing. Look at these empty spaces. So I think something is wrong. But no problem, we just have to wait. The other ways of opening your code, I think I mentioned this earlier. If you click on this place, you will see something like, if I can still remember, is it view and run? This is something I hardly use, so I can't even remember if this is the correct. No, definitely, this is not what I'm trying to look for. So this is definitely not it. But I think there is one place we used to use. This is actually something that I can't even remember where I used to see it. So I think it's not here. Or is it run? It's not run. Terminal. So something is actually going off. So probably I should just try to, let me go to my home. Probably I should try to open, this is the folder where, let me try to open it up with my second VS Code. Probably we will have the solution to that problem. Because I don't know why it's not coming up. Yeah, it's not coming up at all. So I'm trying to open it in my second VS Code over here. So before I open it, so I'm just trying to, let me just continue with what I'm explaining over here. So now I can close it as well. So you can see that I've explained manipulation to you and how to do DOM manipulation and what it actually entails. So all these things are done with JavaScript. So first of all, before I even start coding JavaScript, now let me just import the JavaScript file because it's actually an external file, dom.js we are trying to use. So let me import it into my HTML. As I said earlier, you should put it inside the script element at the bottom of the body. Wow, this is actually a mistake. So it should actually be here. Yeah, it should be the last thing before the body closing tag. Yes, so not after the body. So now in the script, it has an opening and closing tag basically. So something like this. Now you need to put the SRC since you are going to be using something external. You can put something internal as well, like you can have your JavaScript code inside this place. But I prefer to use an external file. Yeah, so just put the SRC. So for the SRC, you can see we are not even getting suggestions for this. So probably I need to restart this, like this my VS Code or so, but I don't want us to waste time at all. So SRC equal to this. So dot. You are not even getting suggestions for this. I guess something big is wrong with this VS Code. So I've opened I've opened the folder inside this place. So I can just minimize this and use this instead. So now we'll still be getting the same thing. Yes, HTML, and you see the dom.html, and I can actually also open up my JavaScript file as well. So JS, and I can just open dom.js too. Okay, that's overridden it, so I can just move this to this place. Okay, so I can close this. So let me just try to increase the size so you can see it clearly. Now, so now if you click on go live, so this one shouldn't give us problems, I guess. So you see activating extensions, it might take a little bit of time. So let's just wait for it to do that. Yeah. So now as I was explaining before, now to import our JavaScript now, we have the dot and slash. It's actually in the folder called JS. You can see then slash, then we have the dom.js. You can see it is actually open now. So the problem was from the VS Code itself. dom.js. So it means that anything we actually put in this our code is going to reflect on this our page. Let me move this here. I prefer putting the JavaScript on this side. So now before you can target an element from JavaScript, you need to select the element. So we need to create a variable that stores that element as its value. So now I taught us about variables yesterday. So you have a let keyword to create a variable. So let's say heading, for example. So let's say heading is a variable name. So heading equal to something. So you can just choose to say probably heading equal to, let's say Martin, for example. But basically we actually want to put a value. Want to put the value as this element we actually have, because if you want to change something, you need to select it first. So that's just the first step of doing something in JavaScript. You need to select the element first of all before you even start changing the element. So now do you actually make use of that? That's where we have these things coming into action. You have this query selector. So query selector is like one of the ways of selecting an element from HTML using JavaScript. So how do you actually make use of that? So now we have things we call JavaScript methods. I won't be going deep into this, but just see what the syntax looks like. If you want to get an element from JavaScript, I will advise you give the element an ID value. So you can just give it an ID of, let's say heading text, for example. So now these values will be using to target the element. So ID is used in CSS for styling, also used in JavaScript for selecting your element as well. So I'll just be copying this when we get to time to make use of it. So come back to our JavaScript now. Let heading. So the heading tag, I want to select the heading element and I'll be using it as the variable name. You can use something else. Let's say you can even use your name. You can use X, you can use Y. So let's say heading equal to something. So just look at this code. We call it document.query selector. So document.query selector, then we have a bracket. So this is actually one of the JavaScript things we make use of. So document is, as I said, document object model. So it means that we're trying to access the document. If you're trying to do something like a URL and you have, like, let's say facebook.com then slash, let's say, messages, for example. So it means that you are going to facebook.com as a parent's domain. Then you're trying to access messages inside facebook.com. That same method is what we're actually trying to apply in this place, because the document is the whole body itself, like everything in the body, everything you can see in the body is a document. So now we want to access the document and something inside the document. So we make use of this dot query selector. So this is actually called a method in JavaScript. Then when you go advanced, you understand what I mean by methods. So now in this bracket, document.query selector, then we have a bracket, and in this bracket we put the selector we want to actually target. As I said, we already gave it an ID value of what? ID value of heading text. So I just copy this ID value, Ctrl C. So after copying this, I just come over here and I paste it. But remember that I said that you are using ID values, you need to put hashtag. So the same thing for JavaScript as well. So we put what? Hashtag heading text. So it means that anything we have inside this particular heading text element, that we are getting its value. So it's going to, the value is going to, like, the content of this whole heading text element is going to be stored as heading variable. So this is actually a string, don't forget. So we need to put it in quotes. So it's actually a string. So this is how actually it works. So now you've already gotten the element already. So now let me open my live server, which I think is already open. So yes. So now we've gotten the element already. Let's say probably want to display the element in our console. So I can just use this. Don't forget the console.log I taught us yesterday. Console.log and then brackets. So this .log is also a method. You can see what we have is a method. The same way we have this query selector also as a method also. So you can see this document is like the parent we're trying to access. Then this console too is like the parent we're trying to access. So the .log is like a method to that parent. So now what do you want to console.log? We want to console.log the value of this heading. So if you want to access something and you want to deliver it by displaying it, so we make use of the variable name we've created. So I just copy this and I say console.log Ctrl V. So I'm trying to console.log this heading as a variable, and this variable is used to store which data. Data in the variable is what we have from this heading text element. So when I come back to my console, Ctrl Shift C, so I should be seeing that I should be seeing the element in the console. So let me come back to my console. This is let me try to make it bigger. So let me try to make it bigger. Or probably I can just I'm trying to see what I can do. Okay, so yeah. So now we're having some errors. So these errors are just basic errors. So these are not things you should even mind. You see, fail to load resources, internet connected, because I don't have internet connected. This one is a port for blah blah blah. So these things are just they are not serious errors. So you can see what we actually have from the console. We instructed the browser. We say it's not giving us everything we have in the element. So it's giving us the h2 itself. Remember that, look at, just see the similarity between this. So we have this h2 blah blah blah, and this same thing is actually what we have here. So this is what we mean by when we get an element from the HTML using JavaScript. So we've gotten everything we have inside this place now. So but probably if you want to get just the text, like just the value, just the text inside that element, not the whole element itself. How do we actually make it of that? Then we come over to JavaScript and say heading text dot something. So if you want to access, it's like I'm trying to access a very big box, which is the document. Then in that document, you want to access a child to the document, which is the heading text. So this is like the whole heading itself, the h2 itself. So if you want to access the text inside the heading, so you're trying to access something like a child to the heading itself, then you need to make use of another method. So we have dots. So now we have inner text and we have inner HTML. These two things are very common. So they are used to access the text inside a particular element from JavaScript. So for the inner HTML, you click on this now. So you are going to see that we'll be having this. We are having the text alone, dot inner HTML. So we are having the text only. So we are not having that element, the h2 and like. So we also have inner text as well. You can do this. It's also the same thing. You get very similar. I think this is kind of like duplicated also. That's why we are not getting the. So you can see it's actually also working as well. So we also have the same thing. This is the heading. So make it of inner HTML. I think it's better, probably because it's not duplicated also. So that inner HTML. So this actually gives us the content of that element. So we have several things we make use of apart from inner HTML and the like. So we also have dot value. For example, if you make use of input elements, if you want to get the value of an input element, so we make use of what? Make use of the what is it called? Of the dot value and many other things as well. So now this is just one of the ways of selecting an element from JavaScript. So now this is when you make use of the class of ID value. So let's say for example you have class. So let me give this paragraph a class name of para, for example. You can give it just anything. So come to this place and do the same thing we have here. So let's say for example let's say we have like let paragraph okay, so let paragraph equal to, now I want to give this variable a value of that paragraph text itself. So I just come over and say document dot query selector. Now query selector is to select an element that has ID or probably the tag name. But if you want to select a class name, probably class names actually are used for several elements. So several elements can have the same class name. So make use of query selector all to select all occurrence of that class name. So it is actually a little bit different from the query selector, but it actually works the same way. Then you have a bracket, and what do you want to select? You want to select the hashtag, the dots, yes, dot para. So it means that we'll be getting every element that has the class name of para. We have the dot para, remember this as well. And the difference is that we have the select query selector all to select everything we have there. So now let's say for example I duplicate this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V. So I've pasted this 3 times now. I'm trying to access these 3 elements together. So how do you make it of that? Let me come over. Where am I? Okay, yeah. So let me come over and do this console.log. So let me just console.log our paragraph. So it's actually going to display all these paragraph elements to me. But to be getting it in a format, yes, we will be getting it in this normal pure format, because if you are trying to access many things at the same time and you want to console it, so you'll be getting it as a node list. So it's actually called a node list. It's like an array. Yes, it's actually an array of elements. So it's going to give you all the elements in form of an array that's like comma separated. So we have the node list over here, so you can see. So we have it, they all have ID values 0, 1 and 2. So these are actually, a lot of things actually are here. Don't mind all this. But the value itself, let me see where the value is. I'm trying to see. So you can see this is actually inner HTML over here. So you can see the same way we access the inner HTML, the same way we're actually going to see it over here. I don't know why this is not moving, but let me show you something. So you can see here, the inner HTML is giving us, this is a paragraph. Same thing as inner text. So that's just to show you about that. So that's just one of them. the second one and the third one to also here as well. We click on this to expand it. We'll be having this a lot of attributes, a lot of a lot of methods you can apply to them. So this is just about that. I don't want us to go deep into this, but just to know about this. So let's say, for example, you also want to access an element using its tag name. This is actually also possible. Let's say we have an element like span. So span is also an element similar to the paragraph element, but the difference is that the paragraph element is like how do I call it? So it's like a block level element. So we have two types of elements. I forgot to mention this in HTML. So we have the block level element and the inline element. Block level element, if you have 3 block level elements following one another, so each of them will take a new line. Like after we have the first one, you have the next one on the next line, the next one on the next line. But if you have inline elements, you'll be having all of them on the same line, unless we make use of line breaks, like which is the BR element to separate them. So that's just one of the things that we see about inline elements. So you can see that even if you notice from this place, this paragraph is a block element. So that's why we have this is a paragraph, this is a paragraph, this is a paragraph. These 3 things are on 3 different lines. But if you have 3 span elements, let me show you what I'm trying to say. So let's say this is a span element, for example. Oh, how am I typing? Okay, so you can see we have this is a span element. So you can see it's actually coming to this place. Yes, because the paragraph has pushed everything else to the next line. But if I'm to actually duplicate this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V. So we have 4 of them now. Oh, I think it's actually a mistake. This shouldn't be. Okay, yeah, I don't think it's actually a mistake. Or yeah, even you can see that even from the code, it's not even putting them on new lines. But this is not what we're actually after. You can see that we have this is span element here. This is another span element. Everything just seems jam-packed on the same line. Even if you try to zoom this bigger, you have them on the same line. So it means that they are inline elements. They are meant to be on the same line. But you can actually override this by making use of what? By making use of 2 things. You can use CSS and you can also use HTML to do this. You can put line breaks between them. Even if you put this, like if you give 100 lines, you will not get any single line. That's because HTML doesn't work that way. So you can actually override this by using the line breaks. Let me just go back and correct this. So you can make use of the line break, which is the BR element. So it will push the next one to the next line. You can see how it actually works. And you can also make use of CSS too by using display of block for the element. So let's say, for example, you come to your CSS. Let me create a CSS style sheet, for example. So let's say we have the span. We want to give out the span display of flex. Display of block. So you have several display values you can actually have. One of them is the display of block. We have display flex, display grid, display inline block, and other things as well. So let me just remove this line because it's not needed anymore. So you can see that everything now appears like they are inline element. But still you can see that the gap between them is not as much as the gap between this, because these are naturally occurring block element and these are naturally occurring inline elements. You can also make your paragraphs inline element as well. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. So you can also have the paragraph like P and give it a display. Do the display of inline. So let's see what it looks like. So you can see now the paragraph now occurs on the same line. So but don't do this. Yes, you don't need to do this. Let me just remove this and let me leave the span as display block. Yeah. So now apart from this, now if you want to select this from JavaScript, how do you make use of that? Selecting elements based on their tag name. So we also do that as well. So let me come over to this place and say let me use const this time around. Let's say const spans, for example, equal to. So we still make use of document or query selector as well. So it's still the same to make use of document dot query selector. Now to select elements now. So you know that, as I said, if you want to select an element which has an ID value, you make use of query selector. But if you want to select elements that actually are plenty, like a group of elements, so you make use of the query selector all. So make use of query selector, because if we talk about tag names, 100 elements can have the same tag name. So we don't want them to appear like they are just one. So we have a bracket, and now we want to select which element, the span element. So we're going to set the span element. Then you can now console. Let's console.log the value of spans. So it means you are trying to console a list of all the elements that have the spans. So now if I come over to my console, I can just comment this out. So we won't have that long list we have previously. So let me come to my developer options and check out my console. So let me just make this bigger so you can see everything clear. So you can see we have another node list again. The same thing as what we have previously. So the node list now, we have 4 items because we have 4 span elements. So the first one has an ID of 0. So these things actually have what we call index. So index is like the location of that particular value inside that particular list. So that's what we mean by index. An index normally starts from 0. So the first element has an index of 0, second has an index of 1, the third has an index of 2, and like that. So we have for 0. You can also come over to this inner HTML as well. You see IJK. So you can see inner HTML and inner text. We see that these two things are the same thing. Though they have a little bit of difference, but we are not even going into that for now. So that's just basically how this thing actually works. So that's just to select elements based on their tag name as well. So there's other ways of selecting elements too, but I don't want us to go into much of those things because we have quite a lot of time fast spent. I think we've spent about how many minutes now? So we've spent about 25 minutes now, or yeah, 25 minutes already. So I want us to take everything as fast as possible. So now no problem, let's just continue from where we stopped. Okay, should I just decide this size? No problem. So let me just leave it like this. Now, after manipulating things, let me show us one practical example of using this in a project, like a very simple project. I want to have a button. So I want to have a button. Let me come over here and put the button. So the button element. Oh, sorry, I opened. No wonder, I opened my other VS Code. Let me open the normal VS Code back. I was just wondering why everything was not working again. So now let me have a button. Yeah, let me have a button. So this button is actually going to say click me, for example. So now something should happen when we click this button. I made mention of function yesterday. So if you want to create a function in JavaScript, so I taught us how to do that. Just come to this place and create a function. So let me comment this out and comment this out as well, so that it won't be displaying in the console. So to create a function, we have something like a function keyword, function, let's say function display name, for example. Remember that I told you that you want to create a function, don't put a space when you have multiple words. This is not allowed. Minus is also not allowed, but you can make it of underscore. This actually works fine. So we have display name equal to something. So sorry, this is actually a function. So it has the bracket, and after the second the closing of the bracket, it has the curly brace. So now in this function, we want to display the current value of an input element. So let me create another input element as well. So I'm just trying to take us through a very short practical what we've learned. So now let's have an input element type equal to text. And yes, for input elements, you can have one attribute that says value. So the value means that the thing that is actually going to be inside that element. For example, if you have a, for example, so you'll be seeing the value of a inside this, even without you typing anything inside. So you get. So that's actually one of the attributes we have. So it means that anything that is inside that particular input element is known as the value of that element. So even if I come over and type Abdul inside, so it means that the value has been changed from nothing that was there to what to Abdul. You get that logic? We'll make it of that very soon. So now apart from value, we also have another attribute which we call the placeholder attribute. This is actually used for input elements. So we have the placeholder attribute. So this is the text that shows inside an input element, but it's not a text, it's not the value. I will get now. So let's say for example you want to say enter your name, for example. So it means that what am I type? Oh sorry, this was not meant to be here. So let me just cut this and place it here. I was typing into the box itself. So you can see that the difference between when we have the value and when we have the placeholder is that this placeholder, we click on it and type something, the placeholder disappears and it comes back with delete, and you can see. But when you actually have it in the value inside, let me just remove this placeholder and paste it inside this value. You see the difference between both of them now. This is the value that you can even delete things. So if you want to type anything, you need to clear everything. So don't make the mistake of putting value when you intend to put placeholder. So it actually should be placeholder, not the value. So we've learned one other thing again today. So now after clicking here and typing your name, Abdul. So let's say probably you want to display the name inside a particular element. So now we actually make use of that now. After doing this now, I want us to have one paragraph element that is actually empty, that has nothing inside. But I'm going to give it an ID value of, let's say, text box. So ID values can have minus because they are actually inside quotes. So they are not function names, and they are also not attributes, and they are not variable names as well. So I think this is getting jam-packed. Let me try to give them a little bit of breathing space. So what I'm trying to do here, we have an input element where we're actually going to have this box to enter your name. Then you also have a button. So when you click on this button, we want this name that is entered by the user to display inside the paragraph that has the ID of text box. Everything is seeming interesting. So first of all, I want us to create the function first. So this is the function display name. So now, if you probably want to alter the value of something, look at something I actually did here now. Let's say, for example, we have this heading. We've gotten the heading already, and we've actually gotten the text inside the heading now. We even consoled it. So if you probably want to change the value of this text to something else, you can actually do this as well. Just do this. It's very simple. Just say heading, then equal to. Let me just say probably I want to give it as this is another heading. Sorry for the another heading. So I'm trying to say something. Another. Okay, so this is another heading. So oh sorry, actually it should be in quotes. Yes, it should be in quotes. So you can see that the supposed to change. Let's see, something is wrong. Heading equal to. So let me see if I remove this. Then I put a semicolon. I put heading dot inner HTML equal to this. So you can see that the value has changed from. If I reload the page now, you can see it is giving us this instead of what we have initially. As this is the heading. So that's because we've changed the default value from this is the heading to this another heading from JavaScript. So I forgot to mention this earlier. So now how do you actually make it of this? You use a variable to get that element itself and stop here at this point. Then you make use of another variable. So you make use of the same variable. As I said, I think I said it yesterday, if you want to change the value of a variable to something else, so you make use of this. So the value of heading.html is now equal to this. So this is actually one of the ways of changing. So you can see that actually works. So this is what we'll be making use of in this function we want to create now. So first of all, I want us to get this particular input element. Let me give the input element as well an ID value. Let me give it an ID of, let's say, input box, for example. So I want to get this particular element now. Let me just say let's input element then equal to. So make it of document dot query selector as well dot query selector. So we are trying to select the element itself. So have a bracket and it has an ID of what? Input box. So just put input box. So now after doing this, now we've gotten this particular element. If we want to get the value in the element, what do we do? So we actually just create a new variable. So let's say username as an example. So let's username equal to. So the username is a variable that we want to store as what? We want to store it as the text that user actually enters, which is the dot value of the input element. And I said earlier that the value is what is inside this particular thing user have entered. So this is the new value. ZES is the new value. So make use of that opportunity to use it in JavaScript. So by saying username as a new variable is equal to the text inside this input element variable we've created. So Ctrl C and you can just paste this, Ctrl V. Then it has a dot value. Remember that it must have a dot value because it is not just dot value. So dot value in the sense that it's actually going to something is wrong. I'm getting this light text. It means something is probably wrong somewhere. Or is it this? Okay, yeah, so everything is working fine back now. So you can see that something is wrong. Username, okay, it's declared but it's not used. Okay, so when you create a variable and you don't make use of the variable, you can get errors, like just mild errors, actually, not serious errors. So now we are creating a new variable username that's going to contain the value of the input element. This input element is coming from this document query selector input box. So now after doing this, if you want to display the value like this username value, which is the value from the input element, it is actually getting a little bit complex. So we make use of the paragraph we created below this place. So you can see this paragraph that has the idea of text box. So just come over here and say let's say let's result. So you can use the same ID name or ID value as the variable name. There's no problem, but I don't want us to get confused. Let's say let result equal to. So now I'll be creating this document dot query selector again with a bracket and it has an ID value of text box, because this is the element that we actually want to pass it into. This is the paragraph element we created earlier. So now all these things are just basic things we've learned earlier. So if you want to push this particular value into this element, how do you actually make use of that? You just come over to this place and say, what is it called? So we've gotten this already, so just come over and say result dot inner HTML, because inner HTML is used to get a text inside the particular element. You know, for input element, it is not a text anymore. It is actually a value inside that text or inside the input box. So that's why we have the dot value for input elements. So we have the result dot inner HTML, then equal to what? Want to change it to something else? Or want to change it to the value from this username. So just come over and write our username. So this actually should work. So now let's test it out and write Abdul, for example. If I click on click me, well, it's not working. So let me just, oh sorry, yeah, it definitely won't work because we only created the variable, we not even use the variable. So I said there are two ways of using a variable. You can use the variable by coming down and say display name, call the variable name and have a bracket and save this. So probably if you come over and type Abdul again and click on click me, you still don't get anything working. So that is actually because this click event is not attributed to this input element and is not even attributed to this function. So now we call something events. So events, so I think we even have to touch event today. For more back and actually see we have event as well. So we're touching just the click events basically. So now events means that when something happens, then this should happen. For example, if you click on a button, it's called a click event. If you want something to happen when you click on something, so make use of the click event. Also, if you double click on something, if you want something else to happen, so make use of the double click event. And these are the things that we actually want to go into next. So now, after clicking on this button, we want this function to be triggered, this function display name to be triggered. So it's definitely will be triggered normally on a normal note like this, because this is not linked to this button. So how do we actually link them together is what we want to go to next. So now, first of all, after creating the function, we need to create the event listener. So event listener means that we are trying to link the element to the function we want to create. So now if you come to this button and come to this opening tag, there's an attribute. In fact, all events have their own attributes. So if you want to have a click event, you have the on click attribute. So you come over, so basically they all start with on something. So it means that on you do something, then it should happen. So you have on about, on blur, on can play, on change. This is the on click we want to use. On change means that when time you change the value of an input element, something should happen. I will try to touch this as well. You have the on context menu, on drag, blah blah blah, a lot of them. So you just go through them. We have on focus. Sorry, I did something already. So we have on focus and several other events. So we have this on error, on focus, on input, on key down, on key press, on key up, on load, and several others as well. We also have on submit. Probably we submit a form. So that see this on submit and many other things as well. Just try to practice everything you see here. So I'm making of the on click event. So click on click is actually an attribute as I said earlier. So now what should happen when you have this on click? So this value is going to be, it can be a function and it can also be JavaScript code. So if you click on this button, for example, you want something to happen, you can come to this next line and say, let's say alert something. So let's say alert, let's say button clicks, for example. Coming something is kind of wrong. Oh, sorry. I'm not even supposed to go to the next line, I guess. Isn't it? And click equal to alert button clicked. Okay. I think yeah, exactly what I'm trying to say. I think I said this earlier that you can make use of double quote or single quote. But by making use of double quotes, ensure that you don't have double quotes together in the same scope. Look at this double quote we have here is the parent quote, and inside this space we have another double quote. So we assume this is the first quote and this is the closure of the first quote. So this is something very much that we should try to avoid. So just use single quote for this instead. So I can just come over and change this to a single quote, a single quote as well. And this actually should work expectedly. So you can see the error is gone. So even if you go to the next line, I think there shouldn't be a problem. You go to the next line basically. So yeah, nothing happens as an error. So now if you click on this button, this event is triggered. This whole code is going to run because you've clicked on it with the on click. So let's try it out. Click now. You can see we have this alert box that says button clicked. If you click again, you have the same thing, button click. So it means that this is going to be triggered every time you click on that button. So now you can choose to write the JavaScript code inside the attribute, like as the value of the attribute, and can also use a function also. So I created the function already. The function is called function display name. I want this function to be triggered. If I click on that button, I'll just copy this function name. I can even delete this as well. Then I paste the function name inside the value, inside the value of attributes. I can just paste this display name. So we click on this now and click. Oh, sorry, you need to include this this bracket as well, because we are trying to invoke a function. So now if you click on this button, the onClick attribute is going to make sure that if you click on it, this display name function is being triggered. So it will come to JavaScript file and look for the display name, and it will trigger this whole function. Let's try to do that now. Click me. Something is wrong somewhere. It's not working. So let me check again. The button I'll click on to display name and this. So basically it should work. So let me check our console. Sometimes it could be something very small that's causing the problem. So coming to the console, so you can clear the whole error message using this place. So click on this and you can try to minimize this. Yes, so you can actually see the button you want to click on. Sorry. Okay, yeah, so you can see we are clicking on this now. Come back to the console and click on this click me. So you can see we have an error that says cannot set properties of null. Okay, yeah, that's because yes, null in the sense that the variable is empty. So you can't input an empty variable inside something. It's not possible. So why is it empty? It is empty because the value we want to display, it is what this the value of the input element, and that is actually currently empty because we have not written anything inside it. So if you click on this, you have this error message. If you keep clicking on it, we see that this number is increasing, meaning that the same error is happening again and again. So we need to solve that problem. So we do that by typing something inside. Let's say I type my name Abdul inside. Then if you click on the button now, it should work fine. Click on click now. So you can scroll over. So after clicking, do you see I have that error? Trying to check something. The error is still coming up. Wow, something is wrong then. Like something different is wrong. Let me try to zoom this in better and see everything very well. So let me clear the error again and refresh. Let's try to access again. So we click on this now, click me. I can clear this again. We click on click me. So you have this as display name. Cannot set properties of null. Setting inner HTML as display name. So let's see. It gives us the number line 20 column 22. So this is line 20. The result of HTML equal to username. So something is probably wrong. Probably we can actually remove this. Sometimes we do have this problem. So just come to username dot value. So let's hope this actually works. So now let me try to put my name here, Abdul. Then click on this, click me. We still have this same problem. So what could be wrong? Setting HTML and display name. Wow. I guess there's a problem somewhere which we need to figure out. Coming. So let's see. Is it probably that the element does not exist? Let me check very well. So this element want to try to access ID of text box. Wow. So you can see what I'm trying to see. If you're trying to create something that is going to JavaScript, ensure you don't have just any random things. Look at this space we have over here. This space could have been a cause of the problem. Who knows? So let me just remove this space. So all these empty spaces inside code should be avoided as much as possible. So let me clear this and see if this solves the problem. You can clear the whole message and click on click me now. So you can see that we actually are not getting the problem anymore. Even I'm clicking, I'm not getting the problem because the element now exists. You can now type my Abdul inside and click on click me. So you can see we now have the text. If you click again, so it is changing this text. Let me say Abdul Martin, for example. So we click on click me now, it changes value from Abdul to Abdul Martin. Click on it again, you can see it changes it. So basically that's what we are trying to work on. That was giving us problems earlier. So the problem was coming from the fact that we had a space here and there shouldn't be a space. It means that the ID value has changed from just text box to a space and text box. So avoid this kind of problems in the future. So now we've touched some basics of events. So we also have other events like apart from this on click, we also have things like I think we also have a lot of them. So let me just see the one we can just touch among them. So probably we can do something like in this input element now you can have an unchanged event. So this is unchanged. Every time you change something inside that input box, you'll be having something displayed. So what should happen? So let's say probably want to display the text or like the new value of the input element. Like every time you change the value from, so let's say you want to type your name, if you click on A, you've changed the value from nothing to A. So this function should be triggered by displaying the value below it. So if you put B as well, so the value has changed from A to B. So basically we want that to happen. I think I can actually I can copy this whole thing. So let me copy this whole thing, that when you change the value inside that input element, then you should have this function triggered. So now let me try to justify this. If you click on A, as you can see, once you click on it and you move your cursor, it's right A. If you click on B as well, so you move your cursor, you see we have C as well. So this is actually time consuming because you have to come out and blah blah blah. So we also have other ones you can use. Apart from this on change, we have the on key down and on key up as well. So look at the on key down, on key press, and on key up. So if you click on the on key down, if you write something, for example, if you write A and you move your I think it's not on key down. So let me see, is it on key press that actually does that? I think it's on key press. So now let's say for example you write A. I think no, this is not even working. Or probably is it probably on key up maybe. So let's see this as well. So let's see exactly what I was trying to look for. So on key up, it says that once you put your hand on a key and you remove your hand from it, it's going to trigger the on key up function or the on key up event. So this is actually very much good for use. Probably we are trying to do something that has to do with immediate response to the click event. So probably we just click on A, immediately you have this response. If you click on B, the response triggers. Click on D. So this is what I'm trying to tell us about. So this is also one of the events we actually make use of. Immediately you are typing, you are seeing the response. You see how beautiful how that sounds. So this is actually one of the things that we make use of in events. So we've talked about events basically. You can just do the same syntax for different events. We also have on mouse over as well. Let me just show us that. So the on mouse over. So we have on mouse over, we have on mouse out, on mouse leave. So if you have on mouse enter, means that once your mouse enters a particular element, so something should happen. So this is not going to show us anything because there's nothing inside this text. So let's say for example I have Abdul for example now. If I move my mouse and I bring my mouse over this element, you can see what happens. Even without clicking on anything, just bringing my mouse over the element, it does this. So if I try to add something else and remove my mouse from it, if I bring my mouse without even clicking, just bring your mouse to this element, it does this. So this is one of the things we also make use of. We have on mouse enter, we have on mouse leave as well, we have on focus, on blur, and many other things as well. So just try to practice everything around. And for the functions too, the same syntax for functions, just work around that as well. So let me see how many minutes have we spent already. So we spent about 48 minutes. Wow, this is actually a lot of time. So let me see what else we need to touch today. So we've touched documents, DOM manipulation, query selector, inner text. Yeah, similar to inner HTML. We've talked about event, the click and the input. So we have the conditionals and loops. So conditional statement. Let's say for example you want something to happen if something is true. So that's why we actually have this conditional statement, and I'll just take us through a very brief intro about conditional statement. So now let's say for example you want to check if I'm trying to see something that can actually happen. In our dom.js for example now, let's say I have a variable called const age equal to, let's say my age is 14 for example. Now if you want to check if my age is less than 18, then you should tell me that I'm actually an underage. But if my age is greater than 14, then greater than 18, then I'm actually an adult. So we want to do that kind of short project now. So now this is just for the age. I made use of this const keyword. Now to create a conditional statement, we make use of the if-else statement. That's the basics of the conditional statement. So now the syntax is very simple. We have if and a bracket, and we have this curly brace, and we have else, and we have another curly brace. Just see what this looks like. We have if. So this bracket is going to contain the conditional statement, like if this is this. So that this is this should be inside this bracket. So this is the conditional statement. Then this is going to be triggered if this is actually true. Then the else is going to act if it is false. So it's very, very simple syntax. So this is actually what it means to have a conditional statement set up on our project. So for example, we want to check if this age is greater than 18. So now greater than symbol is used in JavaScript as well. Now let me first of all check if it is actually, now you can have several if statements. Yes, you can have several if statements. First of all, I will check if the age is greater than, so let's say it is less than 18. So now this is a statement that if this age, which is the variable we have over here, if the value, so you don't have to say dot value because this basically just the value itself. If the value is greater than 18, then what should happen? So let's say we want to I'm trying to see what I can actually do regarding this. So let's say you should alert something. So let's say alert you are a minor, for example. So let me just save this. And so the reason why I don't like using alert box is that it triggers every time. So I don't like using this. If you load the page now, you'll be having this, yes, because this is a function. This is not the function that triggers when something is called. So it runs automatically. If you have a set of code or instruction that actually does not, that is not enclosed in the function, so it's going to run every time your page loads. Unlike when you have a function that you actually want it to run when something happens. So that's how the difference between both of them. I'm trying to talk about something. Look at what I'm saying here. If you create a function using this function keyword, the function won't run by itself. It will run only if and only if you probably come over and call the function name by saying, for example, we have the display name and have this. Then the function will run, or you go to your HTML and add that event listener to it. Then it will actually also run as well. So this is actually one of the things. So now probably we don't need to put it in a conditional statement. So you have the constant age as 14. So the value is 14. And the value definitely is less than 18. Yes, so that's why you're having this alert, you are a minor. So, but probably if you want to check something else, if the value is probably equal to 18. So how do you actually do that now? Also very, very simple. As I said, you can have several if statements. So I can just come down before the else statement and have another if statement that says if the age is actually equal to 18. The one why I actually made it of 3 equal to 0. I will explain that shortly. Or should I make it of the console? I think console is better. I don't like seeing this input this alert box. So console.log. So let's say you are exactly at the age. So we're having this, and this will change to console.log as well. To console.log. So now we won't be having this anymore. Thank God. Because I don't even like seeing. So let me just go to my console immediately and open it up. So the console now will be having this. You are a minor, because basically the value that we have here is what is less than the 18 that we gave for the conditional statement. So I'll just copy this again and say that we are actually above 18. So let me just copy this and sorry. So this should actually be here inside. So if the value is actually greater than 18, so you have greater than 18, then you should say you are an adult. So let's say you are an so you are an adult. So now, so what I'm trying to say here, the value is set to 14 already, and definitely I can change this value, yes, because it's actually a variable that can vary. So now the first thing we have as a conditional statement is what? If the age is less than 18, if the value of the age 14 in this instance is less than 18, definitely this is going to happen. So if the first part of your if statement works, the remaining parts are going to be abandoned by the code automatically. So nothing will actually work again. So if probably this first one is false, then this one will be skipped. The next one will be checked. If it's actually going to align, then it will work. Then the remaining ones will become invalid. So now let me try to increase this to, let's say, 17, for example. 17 is still definitely below 18. So only this part of the code will work, which says that you are a minor. So this is actually going to make every other thing useless somehow. So if I change this to 18, for example, what happens? So we have something else that says you are exactly at the age. Yes, you are exactly at the age, because the value is now equal to 18. So I made it of 3 equal to, because this equal to symbol is used for many things in JavaScript. It is not only used for declaring or giving values to variables. So if you have an equal to statement, it means you are trying to reassign the value. So you even have you definitely have a problem, because you are trying to reassign the value, and this is even a constant again. You can't reassign the value of a constant. So you can't use a single equal to, because it works as you are trying to give a new value to the age. If you use double equal to also, this should actually also work, because double equal to means that you are trying to check if the value are the same thing, mainly the value. But if you make use of 3 equal to, it means that you are trying to check if the value is the same thing and data type also is the same thing. I will just show us a brief example on that also, so you can see that this is actually working fine. So let's say, for example, we now increase this value to, let's say, 21, which is above that 18 years. So it means that if the age is greater than 18, then you are an adult. So we are having this last one as our message. So let me come over to this place, and you can see you are an adult. So this is how conditional statement actually work. But for example, if none of this actually is now correct, then what should happen? So let's say, for example, we want to console.log what exactly is your age. So let me just copy this and paste here. So we have something else like what exactly is your age. So for example, probably the value that we actually have for the age is not less than 18, is not equal to 18, is not greater than 18. Definitely, where does it even belong to? It does not belong anywhere, because it has to be one of these 3 things. So this one will actually only work if probably you have a value that is not a number. Yes, if you try to put a string like 21 as a string, you'll be having that error message, definitely. Wow. So it's now treating, let me see, it is kind of like treating this as a number, basically. So that's what's actually happening. But probably if you have a text inside, like a string, like let's say name, for example, definitely name cannot be used to check for things like this. So you can see the message we have now is what exactly is your age, because this can't even be measured against numbers. Like you can't check if the text name is less than 18, because they are not even the same data type. So that's just about that. Now I said I want to show us something about data, the 3 equal to and the 2 equal to. So now if you want to check if the age is actually equal to something, so let me change this back to let's say 40, for example. So now if you want to check if the age is actually double equal to 18, for example, should I just, okay, now let me just change this back to 18. So this definitely is going to work, as we all know. Where is it? Oh, sorry. Let me go back to the console. So you can see we have this. Let me reload. So we have, wow, something is wrong. Why are we having 2 things showing up? What exactly is your age? I think there's a problem somewhere. This shouldn't be. Let me try to reload the page again. So we should actually have only one. Yes, only one of them. So only one of them. And now none is even showing up again. Wow. Is there a problem with our code? Which I think there is. Wow, it's not coming up again. So consider equal to 18. Coming, let me see if age is less than 18. Consider, yeah, nothing is wrong with the code. Wow. Sometimes your code just chooses to betray you. So let's just see why we're having this problem. We're not even getting any error message. Wow, this is kind of crazy. So let me close the console and probably open it back again. Control-Shift-C, and let's see if it actually display the error for us. Yeah. Wow, we still fail to see the error. Something is wrong somewhere. And it was working not quite long. Like, wow, this is actually kind of crazy. So this is back to 21. Let's see. Wow, same thing again. So what should we do? Wow, it's actually showing. Now where was it? Oh, Eden. Did I click on Eden? Can't remember this. So you can see it's actually showing up in this one is that message. So it was working, but it was showing under this place. So that's just about that. So now I want to show us something. This particular text here is what is 21, and 21 is a number, as we all know. So it's giving us this because 21 is bigger than this. So we want to check if the value, let me change this value back to 18. So now 18 is a number, and also 18 here is also a number. We are having this, I don't know why we are getting this. Because this is checked already. So sometimes we have this problem. Or is it because we use this? No problem, I'll just show what I'm trying to say. So now we have 18. So it means that it is checking if the age has the same value and the same data type as 18 we have here. So probably if you change this to a string now, so let's see if we have that same thing. So we have what that is doing, because 18 is not the same thing. This 18 here is not the same as this 18 here. This is a number and this is actually a string. Get. So but if we change this to a string now, you see that they would actually give you that what you are exactly at the age. So you can see we have this message. So now that's just how it works. If you come via and move to, so this will actually give you the correct problem, because this is going to check if the value are the same, not minding the data type. So this is actually how everything works. So I don't know why I'm getting double of this. You're getting just one of them. I don't know why. So that's just for the conditional statement, and we've spent a lot of time. So I think we should actually be stopping here for now. We've spent an hour already. So the assignment we have for today's session is that we should actually build a simple counter and a background color changer. So you are free to make research on this. Just search on how to do this. But I'll just try to give you an hint on this. So a simple counter is going to have like something like this. Let me just give you an hint. So you'll be having like something like, oh sorry. So you're having something like, let's say let's count equal to 1, for example. So let's count equal to 1, and you'll be having a button that leads to a function that says what is it called, count plus plus. So count plus plus means that you are increasing the value of count by 1. So if you have a function that says, let me just try to do this for us. So let's say I won't be creating a function. I'll be using it inside the HTML itself. So let me go back to my live server. In the HTML file, let's say for example I have this button, and if I click on this button, something should happen. I'll be removing this, and I want the count plus plus. So now this will not do anything because count does not even exist. Yes, it does not exist. So if you try to click on this, click me now, you'll be having an error message, I guess. You should be having an error because count does not even exist. It's not showing an error message. So normally count does not exist. So what do you make use of count? You can just create as I said, you can have extra lines. So let's say you have let count equal to 1, for example. Then if you click on this button, it's going to increment the value of count by 1 every single time. So if you click on this, oh, now let's now console.log the value of count. So I'm already giving it on how to do this already. So just work on how to do this and display the value inside the DOM. So let me give this. So now I think this should actually work now. So we have well, it's not coming up. Wow, it's not coming up. So I already give you the value. I already give you the idea. So if you want to display something, so you know how to do that already. But if you want to increment the value, so you can just put everything we have here inside your function, so it will actually work like that. Then you need to link that function to this particular element and use the on click. Yes, it works that way. So count plus plus means that we are trying to increase the value. We call it increment. So minus means decrement by 1 every time you click on that button. So just use this syntax, you get that assignment done. Then second, background color changer. Okay, so you can just do this one very simple as well. Something like you have an input element that says you should enter the color. So you just enter a random color inside that particular input element. Then if you click on click me, it's going to change the background color of the page to the particular color you enter. Let's say for example you enter red and you click on click me. So to change the background color to red, this is actually very simple and very interesting assignment you should try to attempt. So probably tomorrow's session I'll try to touch it and solve it for us as well. So this should be everything for today's class. So if you have questions, please just drop them inside the group. I'll be referring to the questions immediately I see them. So thank you very much for today's session. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Have a nice day, everyone.